there and welcome. I'm Lisa Ingalls Witter, and I'm here to help you to awaken to the true you. Thanks for joining me again for this episode of Awaken the True You. And today, what I want to talk about is something that's called the two truths. And I actually read about it a while ago in this wonderful book called How to Practice by His Holiness, the Dali Lama. However, this concept, although it is in this book, and of course, the Dalai Lama talks about it, it's a concept that is well known in Eastern philosophy. Both Buddhism talks about this idea of two truths, but so does Hinduism. In fact, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna talks about the two truths to Arjuna as they're on the battlefield. So it's a well-known concept in Eastern philosophy, and I want to just for a minute describe sort of how this relates to my personal path, because I think that anybody that's on this path of who is a spiritual seeker, who's on the path of personal growth, comes up against this at some time or other. So for me, I have been on this path for pretty much I know it sounds extreme to say, but my entire life. I was a very strange little girl. I was the kid that went to church because I loved going to church. My mom didn't go to church. It was me and my mom. I lived with my mom, and I would go to church every Sunday by myself. I just loved it. I loved being in that environment, and I loved praying. I loved singing, and fast forward through my life, I was what I would call a spiritual tourist. I've tried many different types of spirituality, including New Age, New Thought movement, and Ernest Holmes, and have been in that whole scene for a long time. Buddhism, Hinduism, I've esoteric Christianity, Kabbalah, sort of a lot of stuff, and so you'll hear me talk about things that come from all of these places, because we're all spiritual seekers. But what I really want to get to is this concept of the two truths. And if you don't understand the two truths and you're a spiritual seeker, you might find yourself coming up against some stumbling blocks, and like having the experience of like, oh God, I'm doing all of this work. I've been doing all of the right things, right? And yet I still am coming up against this obstacle in my life. And some of you might relate to the term karma. You might feel like, God, I thought I worked through this crap and it's still showing itself in my face. That's karma, if you believe in it, right? And I myself on this path was, I've been on the path of being a coach and a healer. Again, I've never been anything other than a coach my entire life in some shape, form, or capacity. And over the years, that went from coaching people for triathlons and physical fitness and mostly sports performance. And that sort of, I graduated, maybe, if that's what you can call it, into human potential, and then, social potential, and sort of into the spiritual world. Yet the spiritual thread has always run through for me. But in the beginning, I was doing a ton of work on my beliefs. I did a lot of work and coached people with cognitive behavioral therapy, which is what a lot of coaches do. I'm a master EFT practitioner, which is, meridian tapping. I feel like I've done it all: music therapy, expressive healing arts, music and expressive arts. So I've done a lot of stuff, and still I would come up against these stumbling blocks myself until I really learned. I had heard about, but never really thought and worked with this idea of the two truths. So let me explain to you what the two truths are. And I think that you'll find it super, super helpful in your own path to awakening the true you. So there's this first truth, which is the relative truth. And the relative truth is essentially everything that exists here is matter. The phenomenal world that we live in, that we can taste, touch, smell, see, even think, hear, everything around us is the phenomenal world. And that is the relative truth. Okay. And what I came to realize is that all of these modalities that I had been working with over the years work in the realm of the relative truth, even energy medicine, because energy medicine has been proven. Like, we know that there are meridians in the body. That's not like science has proven this stuff. Science has proven that our amygdala is the area in the brain where our emotions are stored. Science has proven that beliefs are actually neural networks in the brain. So even when you work at the level of beliefs and you're doing tapping, or you're doing cognitive behavioral therapy, or you're doing whatever it is that you're doing, you're still working at the level of the relative truth. And that's all fine and dandy, but there's another truth that exists that's not better, but it coexists with the relative truth. And that truth is called the ultimate truth, or the soul level truth. And that truth exists at a deeper or a higher level of existence than the relative truth. It's unchangeable. Relative truth is changeable and ever changing. And the ultimate truth is never changing. They both exist side by side at the same time. And if you aren't aware of the fact that there is both a relative truth and an ultimate truth, that they're interdependent, that you must work with both of these in order to experience your highest state of peace, of joy, of happiness, of fulfillment, then you're going to be left like on this path, sort of the same as I was like, God, I'm doing all this work and something's not right. Like, why is it still not totally, why isn't my life completely shifted? So when you understand this concept that there's a relative truth and an ultimate truth, you start to understand that you have to do your work. You have to be doing your practices in both of those worlds concurrently. And how do you do that? How do you, what is the way to do that? Well, the lucky thing is that we have had masters who have been here on earth and who have incarnated on earth many times over the millennia and have taught us the way. One of them is Buddha. One of them is Jesus Christ. One of them is Krishna. And there's nothing new to what I'm going to tell you next, which is that the path really involves your practice of mindfulness, your practice of presence and awareness, conscious awareness, a meditation practice. Anybody who has been watching this knows that I'm a meditation geek. I love meditation and I am a huge proponent of it. Everybody should be doing it. So yes, I'm going to blanket statement and say that. And then the other thing that's really important is something that comes from the Buddhist philosophy is insight, inquiry. Having the ability to inquire and have insights into that inquiry. And that's not something that is a beginner practice. You sort of need some guidance with that first, but there are easy ways into it. And today isn't the day for me to dive into those practices, but what I want you to take away from this episode is that as you're on this path, you, the spiritual seeker, you who is here to awaken to the true you, which is a journey, it's not a one-time event, you have to know that there are two truths, a relative truth and an ultimate truth, and you have to be working concurrently in your life with both of those truths. So maybe you already knew about them. And if you did, woo, congratulations. And if you didn't, great. I hope you got some, maybe an aha for yourself of like, oh my gosh, that's why, you know, my doing this XYZ work has sort of been stuck for me. That's why if you're feeling like that, it's more than likely that you've been doing most of your personal development, your personal growth work, even your spiritual work in the realm of the relative truth, and have either been unaware of or have not been working in that realm of the ultimate truth. And I'll unpack these concepts in another video, but I just wanted to give you that little piece for today. And if you haven't already subscribed to my YouTube channel, you can get these episodes. If you subscribe, you'll get notified of the next episode that comes up. I try to do them quite often. So go ahead, subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you haven't checked me out on Facebook, check me out over there. Lisa Ingalls is my Facebook page. YouTube is Lisa Ingalls. Actually, sorry, Facebook is Lisa Ingalls Witter, and YouTube is Lisa Ingalls. See what happens when you change your name, when you get married? Things get screwed. Your social media gets all screwed up. All right. Love you guys. Namaste.